Esports Analysis, Episode 4. Icon here. We're hopping back aboard with Scump as the Chicago Huntsmen, our city's Envoy, Formal, Scump, and Gunless take on the boys from across the pond, Scraps, Wuskin, Jerd, Dylan, and Rated, and the London Royal Ravens. If you haven't noticed already, for the very first time, we're going to be talking about domination. So the three competitive modes are going to be hardpoint, domination, and then search and destroy, of course. Now, we can't break down any search because nobody's playing that because they're kind of holding their strategies close to the vest, so we won't be able to break that down until the CDL actually starts. But for now, we're going to talk about domination for the first time ever. As we get into this, I do want to put it out there that domination is a little bit simpler, so there's not quite as much strategy that goes in. Really, there's just one key strategy that goes into this, especially on this map. It's the idea of overextending. So as we're popping aboard with Scump here, you can see that Chicago has the C flag, they have the B flag, and essentially they have these guys in a spawn trap. You probably have done this once or twice in just public matches, but essentially, on this map, if you get them spawning A, you can get this head glitch over here where Scump is, you can get a head glitch in the middle, and essentially they can't get out. So if they're spawning A, if you don't push up too forward, they're not going to spawn out. So the way that you break this is the strategy of overextending. Every once in a while, especially if you get into listen-ins, you're going to hear people talk about going OE. So like we need to OE towards C and then push through top plat or something like that. If you ever hear OE, that's the idea of overextending. So with that in mind, I want to go ahead and just stop this for just a moment and break down what that means. As we go ahead and stop this and bring up the bigger overall map here, what you're going to see is that they're stuck back in A. So their really only option is like if you're playing a public match, you want to try to get to B, right? So you want to get a couple kills, you want to try to get to B. The problem is that if you're playing a competitive match, that's really hard to do. If the enemy team set up, everybody's gun skill is so good that they're usually set up on a heady, and it's really hard to get out from underneath that. What you have to do is you have to overextend. So instead of going B, where 4 of the Huntsman players are, right? If you're thinking about what we were just watching, Seth is the only side. So Scump is the only person on the side where C is. In this instance, if you're London, what you have to do is you have to push through that route and you have to try as hard as you can to overextend and capture C. If you capture C, then you have to continue overextending until you get into that top construction building, so that top 3-story building. Whole point of this is that if you have the spawns that are around that 3-story construction building, now basically no matter what, the enemy team is going to be spawning from ammo all the way back to A. So if you're spawning construction and you can get a couple people pushed up on B and you can get 1 or 2 people pushed up in that head glitch on that C flank route where Scump was, now all of a sudden all of the other spawns are taken up, so the enemy team is going to be forced to be spawned back A. So for me personally, this is what makes watching domination so boring, is that on this map there's really just one strategy, and this entire game you're just playing a constant tug of war trying to overextend C to get them to spawn out A so that you can spawn trap them. And if that doesn't work, then you're just constantly trying to do that over and over again, and it's kind of like beating your head against the wall. So in past games, like last year in Black Ops 4, that third game mode was control, right? You had a limited number of lives. It was kind of like search and destroy. You had to destroy 2 bombs. You had like 30 lives. In past games, you would play capture the flag, even Blitz. So way back in Ghost when they would play Blitz, I just think those games are a little bit more fun to watch. To me, this just is pretty much just people trying to get from one point to another, and there's just kind of a lot of camping going on. So right now, if you're watching this, you can see that Huntsmen have control over C and B, and they're currently pushed up to the middle of the map, and they're kind of just spawn killing. So they have Royal Ravens pushed back, and then now here pretty soon, you can see that where Scump's looking, there's nobody on that side of the map. So if there's nobody on that C side of the map, now you can see our cities and people as they spawn, they're running back towards C, because now in that game of tug of war, they've started to lose a little bit. Now our city and Envoy got a couple of kills back in C, so now that the OE has been protected, so now that they're not being able to OE there, now it's just kind of going back. As we continue watching through this, this is just, it's literally the same thing. So London Royal Ravens, they're stuck at A. They're trying to get out towards C. If they can capture C like they just did, now Huntsmen, they're going to end up rotating back so that they can then capture the C flag. If they capture it again, then they'll slowly work up back towards the middle of the map so that they can spawn trap the Royal Ravens back in A, and it's just so repetitive. It's just the same thing over and over again. I think so a lot of this spawns from Infinity Ward. While I don't know what, of course they care about competitive because it's a big part of their game. It's a big part of why people end up buying the game to begin with, but they just don't seem to put the same emphasis on it that Treyarch did. So in Black Ops 4, while we might not have appreciated Black Ops 4, we might not have been, it might not have been our favorite game. Every time you talk to Vandahar, and every single one of the interviews he does, they're always talking about how much they love the competitive scene. They're talking about how much they're trying to balance the game for the competitive scene. And in this game, if you're playing domination as that third game type, then that kind of says a little bit about where you place competitive scene in the whole grand scheme of things. I mean, just stop and think about this for a second. That entire time that I've been on that little bit of a spiel there, not much has really happened. So if we're just talking about strategy, what happened is London ended up pushing through and capture C. And then as Huntsmen rotated back to try to capture C, now that a lot of their resource were back towards C, they were able to take over B. So it really is just kind of just picture like a tug of war, like a rope on screen, and it's just constantly being pulled back one way or another. So just to kind of finish out this round, there are 50 seconds left, and you can see that everybody on the Huntsman, every time there's a kill cam, every time we hop in with Arcides or Scump comes back, he's kind of on like a little death streak here. But look where Scump just spawned. He spawned in that hallway that's kind of all the way by A, and where are they running? They're running all the way back towards C because that's the key to this map. So even though he was like a third closer to A than he was to C, the whole strategy of this map is to capture C. Here he goes again. He spawned there again. They're literally right beside A. But in order to win this, A is not the most important thing. So even if they were triple capped right now, it's not the most important thing to have control over A. You have to get C, and you have to push out towards that 3-story construction building so that then the enemy spawns out A, and then you can get B. And then it just happens over and over again. So with 1 second left, this game is pretty much tied up. It's 105-105. Real quick, as we go ahead and start up this second side, I want to talk about just pay attention to this. Look at how unbalanced this is. So right off spawn there, Huntsmen immediately run towards B, and they all throw nades towards B. Reason being is that the other spawn, so in this one, where London spawned, they spawned kind of right between C and B. So they can get to the B flag about twice as fast as the Huntsman can. So that's why you'll never really see this in other maps, but that's why they all rush through A and they all threw their nades towards B because the other team can get there so much faster. This is a competitive game type, and one team off spawn can get to B a heck of a lot faster than the other team can. What you're going to end up seeing is that if this gets picked in the competitive rotation, is that the team that spawns right where Scump is right now on this C side, they're going to end up sending 1 towards C, and they're going to send 4 towards B, because if they can get B, then they could always wrap back. Say 2 people could watch B, 2 people could wrap back, then they could go back and get C kind of as an afterthought. And then if they get C as an afterthought, then they can begin the process of pushing up and getting that spawn trap in A. With all of that being said, let's go ahead, let's just hop into an in-game listen-in just so that you can kind of, I think when we listen to this, you'll be able to hear a little bit about what their attitude is towards domination on this map.
Jump all dead.
Are you dead? Nice. I'm going I'm gonna try to spawn trap him.
Push back door? Yeah, I back door.
I got one
Look
at
at front. I'm looking front.
Got me rugs. Got me top rugs.
One for construction, guys.
Standing front.
He's plat.
Right.
Dead.
Rugs. Top rugs.
We're spawning. You guys should try to go A if we can.
Try to back off of ammo.
Spawn trapping them.
Oh, fuck it. One, do me all over
Yo,
right.
yo, top dog.
Nice, get up. More.
Trying to kill
Bottom
rugs.
rug, bottom rug.
Spawning right, guys.
Top rugs. One bullet. Lock it.
Flanking rugs.
They're on C, guys. Spawned A.
Top cat.
Yeah.
Top rug still, bro.
They're on
Rugs
C.
dead. Yeah, I'm hopping B.
Yeah.
Bottom rugs, rated.
Dead.
They're gonna be plat
They have a
probably.
trophy on,
Dead. Plat. Fuck.
They're spawning ammo still.
I knew. I'm B and
somewhere?
top plat. Spawn A,
I'm
bro.
trying to go C. They're gonna be front. You're front. You're front.
Keep going, C.
Me top construction, guys.
Yeah, he came
Dub
front.
now. Dub now. Dub
It's
now.
tragic. One front.
I'll help you, C.
Yo, 2 at B, 3 at B, one's
We can
bottom
load
res,
in.
one's top construction,
Got
one's
one.
One
mid.
back alley. One back
Loading,
alley.
loading,
Gotta go
loading,
Loading
C.
steps away,
Gotta go C
rated.
together.
Construction too.
He's in
Is he
loading,
at?
rated.
He's
Loading
fucking
dead.
alley, dude. In the alley on me. I need help.
Low stairs.
Helping you, helping you.
Top
Bottom
cat
mid,
was.
bottom mid, he went
Go,
towards
just
their
go,
side.
just go,
Go
just
C,
go.
go C, go C.
Nice, two. Go, 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 go.
Wanna get
In the back,
sandbags?
Dylan, in the back.
No, not absolutely dead. I'm absolutely
Got one.
No Chovy.
Another one not me, sandbags, Zerd.
We're
It's
sandbag.
One's back door and one's back plat.
Oh no.
He went back
Go
door.
back door, back door, back
One more
door.
front door, side door, side door, side door.
Pick
Right
up
door.
Somebody rotate back to
He's in. He's in. Ah, dude, fuck. You're just sitting me on the table.
No, man.
I have your
two
help,
there,
C?
two door.
Go on.
Oh my god.
I'm mid, I'm dead.
Gonna jump
Bottom,
over the
middle,
wall.
bottom,
Yeah, I have the wall, I have the
We
wall.
can side.
I'm one shot here, Pierce.
Oh my god.
Needed
You're
side
going
door.
Your
to
front's open. Your front's
Mine
open.
down.
One shot. Oh my, I was one shot.
I'm
He's
going
to
B
the
if I
left. There's
can.
two on you.
Another one got me.
Top
Yeah,
plat,
go
top plat, top plat.
2-1-C, guys. 2-1-C.
I don't know where
There's
top
no
We
five
have
is.
B right now.
He's ladder.
Ladder, my bad.
2-1-C. Smoke, we might be able to help B.
Top plat again. Top plat again. On the stairs.
Top right
Rated.
away.
They're just going
He's
upstairs.
further
Top
back,
street,
top
street.
They're mid
I
I
side.
got two mid.
C-street.
One more bottom mid, bottom mid, bottom mid. Outside there, bottom mid, Jared.
Bottom middle, dead.
I see street right now. I see street right now.
We're gonna need a 3 cap. Oh no, we don't need a 3 cap if we get it now.
See street.
3 dead.
Construction.
All right, just to get back into this here, as we kind of go back over what's happened, and domination can be kind of hectic, especially when you're not really in codcaster mode, so you can't see exactly where everyone's at. But at this point in time, this map is going about as poor as it can go for Chicago, and it's going really well for London. So they've been able to hold them back in this A spawn trap for quite a while here. And rather than have like a calculated break as they try to OE towards C, they've kind of figured that, hey, we need to get to B right now or we're going to lose. So all of the strategy, everything that they've been doing has kind of flipped towards the wayside. And even at the end of this map, you'll hear them talk that they should have done that more. But that's where coaching in these maps really come into play. Because you can see like a couple people are towards C, Scump's in here, he gets a kill, then they're going to wrap back. But with Scump, there's only one person, so rather than hitting this with like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 people so that you can complete the process of this OE, Scump and Formal were the only two here. They end up getting a 2-piece, so they end up both going down. Luckily, I believe Arcity saves this, and this right here is exactly where you want to do. So Seth, instead of pushing out towards A, if they've delegated a couple resources towards A to capture A, then Huntsmen need to be heading towards B, because if you can get B, then you can set up that spawn trap. So what he ended up doing by saving A there is that now the other team, so now London's probably spawning over towards 3-story somewhere. As this comes back up, so they captured A, look at where the red dots are on the minimap. They're over towards B. So rather than push out towards A there, Scump should have rotated towards B, and then they could have completed the process of setting up that spawn trap. It's just not quite knowing all the little minute details of the game yet. So as we're getting down towards the end of this game here, you can see there's only 22, 23 seconds left. You can obviously see that London is going to end up taking this map here. Again, domination, it is what it is. For one, it's boring, and then when I explain the strategy to begin this map, so at the very beginning of this video, that's the strategy that holds true for the rest of the game. So there's not really much to break down, because after I go ahead and I tell you what the strategy is to win this map, it's just a tug of war back and forth. So if you're new around here and you like these breakdowns, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. About 83% of the people that are watching my videos aren't subscribed, so especially as we get into the CDL coverage, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because then I can break down search and destroy, and that's where the fun is. So before you head on your way, go ahead, hit that like button, and I will see you in the next one.